Coming up on this week of FRC Recap, we're going to dive into week 3 of Rapid React. We have 27 regional and district events that our correspondents will provide their recaps and breakdowns for, plus discussion from each of our regions. Get ready for FRC Recap.
Your destination for first content, updates, and gaming.
Welcome to the fun.
First Updates Now, supported by Stryker Careers. If you are a college student or recent graduate looking for an incredible internship, take a look at Stryker. Stryker provides a housing stipend, great pay, and an opportunity to work with state-of-the-art medical technology equipment. Discover why so many First alumni are coming to Stryker for their internship or career at careers.stryker.com. First Updates Now is supported by Kettering University. Kettering University hosts 3 co-op employment fairs each year for incoming and current students. Participating in the co-op employment process at Kettering is a great way to begin turning your robotics experience into a professional career to earn money towards graduating debt-free. If you are a senior, it's not too late to apply at kettering.edu/apply.
Welcome to FRC Recap for Week 3. I'm your host, Steve Londo. This week, Fun Correspondents will provide you with recaps of our 27 events broken down into 8 regions: U.S. Northeast, U.S. Southeast, first in Michigan. There is no Canada this week, so U.S. North, U.S. South, International, and U.S. West. Plus, we'll provide a short discussion topic relevant to that region. If you're watching live or on YouTube, put in the comments which events have your attention, or anything extra that went down at events this week that you were at. Also, if you're watching live, we do have a giveaway from our friends at Robotics that we'll detail later on in the show. Our first region for tonight is our U.S. Northeast region, where we had 4 events that took place, including the New York Tech Valley Regional, New England District Western New England event, New England District North Shore event, and FMA District Springside Chestnut Hill Academy event. Up first, we have our featured event, which comes from New York. And let's bring on Connor to talk more about what went down at the New York Tech Valley Regional, as well as those 2 New England events. Connor, good to see you again. How did things shake out up at your event this week?
Hey, Steve. Yeah, we begin with the Northeast recap with the New York Tech Valley Regional. This event featured 41 teams from 6 states and 3 countries: United States, Brazil, and Turkey. We saw fan favorites like 1676, 2614, 2791, and 3015 take the field and put on a show. After 69 qualification matches, it was 1493, the Falcons, who would seed first. They would go on to select the number 4 seed 3015 Ranger Robotics and 18 seed TVHS Dragons and begin their quest to the finals. In the quarterfinal matchup, they faced the number 8 seed of 3044 Team OXBE4, 2607, the Fighting Robovikes, and 4122 Ossing Obots. This is where the number 1 seed would start using the strategy they set forth prior to the playoffs. The number 8 seed was no match, as number 1 beat them out in 2 matches, 64-38 and 80-47. In the semis, they faced off against the 4 seed of 2234 Alternating Current, 1676 Pascack Pioneers, and 810 Mechanical Bulls. The number 1 seed continued their dominance with their red-hot auto routines. 3015 ran their 5-ball auto, while 1493 ran a 2-ball. Endgame was consistent as well, where 3015 would traversal, while 1493 did a mid-bar hang. They would end up winning the semis in 2 matches, 86-64 and 96-53. The finals, they were really, really interesting. The number 1 seed would face off against the number 2 seed of 2614 Mars, 5484 Career Academy Robotics, Wolfpack, and 2601 Steelhawks. We saw something I don't think a lot of people thought would happen. We had double defense played by the number 2 seed, leaving 5484 as the only offensive robot for about the first 30 to 45 seconds of telly. 2614 switched to an offensive role just as Red was starting to pull on them. Red would end up winning match 1, 63-56. In match 2, we saw our standard 2 offense, 1 defense. However, this time we saw a double traversal from Blue, giving them the win 71-63. Finals 3, Red was an absolute slugfest. Hard hits left and right. Red led most of the match with Blue trailing behind by only a few points. As we got closer to endgame, the strategy for Red changed drastically. Red started playing double defense. 30-15 tried to keep 54-84 away from the hangar, but it just was not enough. 30-15 ended up missing their climb, and that was all she wrote. The number 2 seed would win the third match 94-54 and would take home the gold. Congrats to 6300 Northwood School Robotics for taking home the Engineering Inspiration Award, and a 30-15 Ranger Robotics for the Gold and Silver Kling Bling event finalist and the Chairman's Award. We now transition to an event 4 miles away from the NBA Hall of Fame, the Western New England District event in Springfield, Massachusetts. This event featured 36 teams from 5 of the 6 New England states. After 72 qualification matches, it was no surprise that 176 Aces High would seed first. They would reunite with their Waterbury event-winning friends, the number 4 seed 177 Bobcat Robotics and 15 seed 7127 Long Metal. Number 1 seed would crush it in the quarters and semis and would face off against the number 2 seed of 2168 Aluminum Falcons, 228 Gus, and 195 the Cyber Knights. The number 1 seed easily won the event in 2 matches, giving 176 and 177 2 event wins this season. A super interesting stat here, folks. 176 has played both their qualifying district events and are completely undefeated. They are 36-0 in official competition play. This is by far the most dominant machine from the Windsor Locks Connecticut team. And the scary part is, it's only week 3. Congrats to 1071 Team Max for winning Engineering Inspiration, and to 3654 Tech Tigers for winning the Chairman's Award. Heading out to the suburbs of Boston, we find ourselves at the Reading, Mass, at the North Shore District event. After 78 qualification matches, last week's winner at the Pine Tree event, 58-13 Morpheus would seed first, going undefeated in quals and only missing out on 1 ranking point the entire weekend. They would go on to select the undefeated number 2 seed of 125 Neutrons and 24 seed Phalanx. The quarters and semis would be a breeze for the number 1 seed. They even set an event high score of 122 points. The finals, it was our number 1 seed facing off against the number 3 seed of 88 TJ Squared, 1153 Timberwolves, and 1474 Titans. Blue upset the number 1 Alliance in the first match due to one of 58-13's hooks losing contact to the mid-rung, not allowing them to be able to traversal. Score 99-91. Red pulled out a win in finals 2, even though 125 tipped over due to that pesky cable cover and 88 losing connection to the field. Score 97-61. Match 3, unfortunately, it did not live up to the hype, as 88 had a CAN bus issue and was dead the whole match, and 1474 lost comms due to a hard hit from 125 with 38 seconds left of the match. From there, it was all red for the taking. The number 1 seed would take the win 104-49. Congrats to 5422 Storm Gears FRC for winning Engineering Inspiration Award, and to 4905 Andromeda 1 for taking home their 7th Chairman's Award.
Thanks, Connor. Next up, we have Brian, who's bringing us the action from the FMA District Springside Chestnut Hill Academy event. Brian, how things go up in Philly?
So, the FMA Springside Chestnut Hill Academy event brought 28 teams from the Mid-Atlantic. One thing of note, the top 8 teams, only one of them had not competed before, and all of the rest of them competed at Hawkborough Horsham. With the number 1 ranked team with a 9-2-1 record and a 2.91 ranking score was Team 1640 Sabotage. They went on to choose second-ranked team 341 Miss Daisy with a nearly identical ranking score as well as a record. And then they round off their alliance with 28th ranked team 714 Panthera. This alliance had an explosive run through the event's playoffs, showing an event high score of 116 points in the second quarters match. They go through and they move on into the semis against the 4-seed alliance of 272 Cyber Crusaders, 433 Firebirds, and 1712 Dogma, where the number 1 seed alliance wound up scoring a total of 31 cargo into the upper hub in the first semis match. In the second semis match, they throw 1712 to play some really good and heavy defense against both 1640 and 341, but that was not enough to stop the first seed from just raining cargo into the upper hub. They move on to the finals, facing the third seed alliance of 1218 SCH Robotics, 103 Cybersonics, and 423 Simple Machines, with backup robot 6808 replacing 423 in the second finals match. But this just was nowhere near a fair fight for the finals. The number 1 seed winds up scoring double the cargo in the first match, and then another one, it's again 30 cargo in the upper hub in the second finals match. So big congrats to 1640, 341, and 714 for the event win, and 433 Firebirds for their EI win, as well as 5181 Explorer Robotics for the chairman's win.
Thanks, Brian. Stay here and let's bring in Connor back in for our discussion topic. Welcome back. Before we get into our discussion, though, I'm curious, do you guys have any events that you have your eye on this week in the Northeast, or any specific teams that stand out? Connor, let's start with you.
I'm really curious to see what 254 puts out in a few days, even though they're not in the area. I'm just so excited. As for events in the Northeast, I'm super excited for Greater Boston. We're gonna see 95 the Grasshoppers finalists from Granite State. 125 is their home event. They've already gone to 2 events, and they just won this past weekend pretty easily at North Shore. 2877 Ligerbots, they had a great performance. Open Alliance team, Mechanical Advantage, and I'm gonna quickly just briefly mention 6763 Fusion. They're not one of the top contenders, but they just somehow always make it to the finals of this event every single year. So I would be ecstatic to see them make it to the finals.
Brian, any teams that you're looking out for?
I mean, being from the Southeast, there's not much Northeast that I go through and watch. I'll definitely have to agree with Connor about waiting to see what 254 has, because I mean, it's gonna be an amazing robot, especially after seeing what 971 just put out with a turreted catapult with their climber. I mean,
yeah.
But
so okay, so let's move on to our discussion breakdown for this week's discussion. Let's start with you again, Connor. What are your thoughts on the number of cards being given out this season? Do you think it's been excessive or just about right?
I don't even know how to even. Well, there's a lot of cards that's being called. I wouldn't call it excessive, but like most of them are just kind of rightfully deserved. Not to kind of make it sound harsh, but like that's just kind of how it is right now. And I really hope everyone listens to this segment of recap, because so many teams are in violation of cards, especially more so in the New England district. Like at Western New England, there were 5 yellow cards, and I lost track at North Shore. I think there was at least 10 cards at North Shore, one of them being a red card. But like a lot of the common stuff that we're seeing is just students like stepping over the field wall, which I understand that one a little bit, because like for a lot of people, they haven't played in 2 years, and for most teams, it's a bunch of rookies. So I can totally see why students and even mentors would step over the wall and not use the gate. But there's also some game specific stuff, like we're holding too many cargo for a long duration. Like that's just normal foul. But as it escalates as you continue to do it to a yellow card, and even some of the basic stuff like tethering without permission. And there's been a delay of game. Like I don't know the team number at North Shore, but they had to power their robot on and enable it just to get their robot off of the traversal rung. That's really excessive. So a lot of people need to be aware of all these cards that are being handed out. Referees are taking note of a lot of stuff, and they're not going to be afraid to hand out cards this year. And that's kind of foreshadowing a segment later on tonight. So stick around for 9 o'clock roundup, because we're going to talk about some stuff.
Awesome. Brian, anything from you?
Yeah, I mean, I was at Tallahassee Regional, and we also had a couple of cards that were given out, mostly because of just forgetting that you're not supposed to contact inside a frame perimeter. And that was one thing that I saw that was just getting constantly called throughout the competition. Like, just lift up the intake when you're not intaking a cargo. Don't just lift it up, move away. Because if not, you're just going to keep going repeatedly. And sometimes I've even been seeing opposing alliances purposefully driving into the intake of other teams to incur the foul. So just at this point, we got to start seeing what's going on and just lift up that intake, get it out of the way, get your cargo, and only put it down when you need to get that cargo from that split second.
Yep, I've seen that as well in the latter statement you made. So, all right, well, thanks, guys. We'll see you again next week. Our next region of the night is our U.S. Southeast region. There were 7 events taking place, including the FNC District UNC Asheville event, CHS District's Greater Richmond event number 2, days 1 and 2, Greater DC event number 4, days 1 and 2, the PCH District Columbus event, and the Tallahassee Regional that Brian mentioned. Our featured event this week comes from North Carolina, and James is here with the recap of our featured event, the FNC District UNC Asheville event. James, what you got for us?
FNC District UNC Asheville event in Asheville, North Carolina brought together 29 teams from across the state. With this being the first event for 25 of these teams, many of them were still trying to figure out how to tackle Rapid React. Over the course of qualifications, Team 900, the Zebracorns, was keeping a tight grip on the number 1 seed with their consistent traversal climb. However, they would miss the hanger bonus in their final match. This would allow for a narrow window that Team 2642, the Pitt Pirates, was able to capitalize on. In the final qualification match of the event, 2642, alongside 1533 Triple Strange and 3196 Team Spork, would get only the 3rd unicorn match of the event, along with a qualification high score of 79 points. This would tie 2642 with 900 at 2.25 RP and allow them to break the tie by having an average match score of only 0.16 points higher. If the final match was even 2 points less than that, 2642 would not have ranked first. 2642 would select Team 5727, the Omega Bytes, and then finish the number 1 seed alliance with Team 3459, Team Pyrotech. Meanwhile, on the number 2 alliance, 900 would select 6502, Darkside, followed by 1225, the Gorillas. Playoffs would have similar issues as other events this week. A lot of teams were carded for a variety of reasons, and long delays for the scores to be reported. The number 1 seed would dominate in quarters, but have a close semifinals that went to 3 matches when they faced the number 5 alliance of 7890, Sequence, 5828, the Robo Eagles, and 6894, Ice Java. In comparison, the number 2 would have a rough quarterfinals against the number 7 alliance of 5511 Cortex Robotics, 3506 Yeti Robotics, and 8727 Glitch 2.0, where both alliances would be carded in different matches, but number 2 would have a very easy semifinals match. Finals 1 started with a 4-point advantage for the Blue Alliance out of auto, after a rough match where 2642 would get stuck on their own hanger, and 5727, 6502, and 1225 would all disconnect at different times. The second seed alliance would win the match 41-65. Finals 2 would begin with a 2-point advantage for the Blue Alliance this time. Both alliances were able to remain fully functional over the course of the match, with the Red Alliance running a 2 offense, 1 hybrid defense offense, while the Blue Alliance ran a traditional 2 offense, 1 defense strategy. Scores were close as we headed towards the end game, but 900 was unable to climb, and it resulted in a victory for the number 1 seed, 55-44. The rubber match once again started with an advantage for the Blue Alliance out of auto, but this time the Red Alliance was firing on all cylinders, and the match ended with a final score of 67-57. Your winners and champions are the number 1 seed. Congratulations still go out to Team 900, 6502, and 1225 for a hard-fought finalist medal. All 3 of them will be competing again later on this season. Congratulations are also in order to 87-27 for the Rookie All-Star Award, 57-27 for the regional win, and double Kling Bling gold and silver to 34-59 for adding an Engineering Inspiration Award to their winner's medal, and a double gold Kling Bling to 26-42 for their win and their Chairman's Award. We'll see a lot more out of FNC as the season goes on, but back to you, Steve.
Thanks, James. Next up, let's bring in Griffin, who's breaking down the 4 events in the CHS district, starting with Greater Richmond event number 2, days 1 and 2, which remember are standalone events, and then followed up with the CHS district Greater DC event number 4, days 1 and 2 as well. Griffin, how did things go in the Chesapeake district this weekend?
Well, week 3 really saw teams bring it hard in Chesapeake, as this was the last event for a lot of teams to qualify for district champs. On Richmond's first day, this change in atmosphere was immediately apparent, as the first match of the day saw both teams complete the cargo RP. After the matches, claiming the number 1 seed was the undefeated 2363 Triple Helix. They chose week 1 winners 384 Sparky and rounded out their alliance with 4286 Imperial Robotics. They quickly advanced to the finals, scoring triple digits in both their matches against the number 4 seed. In the finals, they faced the number 2 seed of 1262 the Stags, 3136 Orca, and 1793 the Aviators. The number 2 seed put up a fight, but there was no stopping the force that was the number 1 seed, giving the second win of the season to both 2363 and 384, and the first ever blue banner and award ever to 4286. Day 2 of Richmond took what day 1 did and increased it exponentially, seeing a high score of 122 placed in the qualifications. Sitting at the number 1 seed was the undefeated Copperhead Robotics. They picked 2 no one surprise, 2363, and rounded out their alliance with week 1 winners 7429 Convergence. Together, this high-scoring alliance consistently put up over 90 points in the semis against the number 4 seed, and went into the finals facing some strong competition. From the number 2 seed was 1610 Blackwater Robotics, 422 MechTech Dragons, and 3274 Rocktown Robotics. After spending the first match with 422's pneumatics out of commission, the number 2 seed was unable to keep up with the number 1 seed. Even with 422 repaired and 3274 playing their incredible defense in the last match, it wasn't enough to stop the behemoth of 401 and 2363, giving the second blue banners of the year for 401 and 7429, and the third for 2363. Day 1 of DC saw teams really bring it, as we had several instances of the cargo RP being obtained. Sitting at the top was 4472 Supernova, one of the winners from week 2. They quickly picked up the now fully operational 1731 Fresta Valley Robotics and rounded out the alliance with 4821 Cyberus. This team had a tremendous scoring power, with 1731 running a strong 4-ball auto and quickly rotating arm climb, while 4472 just scored cargo after cargo. With this, they easily won their way to the finals. There they faced the number 2 seed of 4541 Cabineers, 686 Bovine Intervention, and 3359 Royal Robotics. Even with 3359's hyper-aggressive defense, it wasn't enough to stop the number 1 seed from outscoring the number 2 seed, giving 4472 their second win of the season and 4821's first blue banner in 6 years. Day 2 of DC saw a little less consistency in the robots, with the first several matches plagued by disconnects and brownouts on the field. Through all the carnage and the constant fluctuation of the rankings until the end, earning the top spot was 623 Cougar Robotics. They picked up consistent climber 5804 Torch and rounded out the alliance with surprising sleeper pick 1895 Lambda Core. With their high scoring output and double traversal, this team easily dominated, knocking out the number 4 seed. In the finals, they face off against the number 3 seed of 1719 Umbrella Corporation, 5724 Spartan Robotics, and 2537 Space Raiders. While the number 3 seed was able to put up an impressive amount of cargo points, it wasn't enough to outscore the number 1 seed's double traversal, giving the win to 623, 5804, and 1895. Again, no awards yet for this week, but congrats to Week 2 award winners 5338 Robo Loco for EI and 1629 Gara Coalition for CA and that double gold Kling Bling.
Thanks, Griffin. So let's bring our correspondent Brian back in, who covered the PCH District Columbus event and the Tallahassee Regional. Brian, why don't you tell us about these events from this weekend?
So, Starting off at Peachtree District, this was very noticeably a big first week event for a lot of teams, with most matches not even breaking the single-digit scores. But it did give an impressive run for the number one seed with an undefeated 15-0 and a 2.66 ranking score. It was team 4188 Columbus Space Program. In alliance selection, they chose second-ranked team 6919 the Commodores and 22nd ranked team 3344 Space Dragons. Looking at playoffs, it shows a very interesting story where none of the teams in the bottom half were able to score even more than 25 points, while the number one seed's lowest score was 42 points. Going into semis, competition gets a little bit heavier with some big defense being played by the 4th seed alliance of 4509 Mechanical Bulls, 5632 the Asmovians, and 7538 Metal Mountain. But it could not slow the rolling snowball of the 1st seed alliance moving through the playoffs and into the finals, where they face the 2nd seed alliance of 1261 Robo Lions, 1414 IHOT, and 8849 Storm Robotics. These top two alliances fought a very close battle, with scores seen close through matches where climbs could really change things up. But the fight from the 2nd seed could not stop the 1st seed from the win. So we have to say a big congratulations to team 4188, 6919, and 3344 for the event win. Also, give 4188 the big round of applause for the double Kling Bling winning the district EI as well as winning the event, and 1648 G3 Robotics winning the district chairman's award. Moving down to a little bit lower, not that much further in all honesty, to Tallahassee, the inaugural Tallahassee Regional, where 36 teams competed in a very interesting 2 days of qualifications that was electrifying in more ways than one. It was impossible to tell who would wind up on top at the end of Qual 50 on Friday, but ultimately, at the end of playoffs on Saturday, Team 1421, Team Chaos, with an 11-1 record and a 2.91 ranking score, was the number one seed. They go into alliance selection and choose 2992, the SS Prometheus, and rookie 8778 HSU Works to round off the alliance. This had to have been the most nerve-wracking run-through playoffs that I had witnessed a number one seed go through. The point difference between matches and quarters was less than 20 points, as opposed to other Florida events where the 1st seed would totally blow the 8th seed out of the water. Going into the semis, defense got a lot heavier, going against the 4th seed of 1056 Hot Rocks, 3039 Wildcat Robotics, and 5997 Nightling Robotics, where backup robot 4013 Clockwork Mania was called in. They did everything that they could to prevent the 1st seed alliance, but that double traversal would come out and show why the 1st seed was superior. Finals told a different story, though, with the 1st seed moving on to face 386 Voltage, 86 Resistance, and 2556 Radioactive Roaches. The 2nd seed alliance was fierce in defense and was great at scoring. With most matches being neck and neck throughout the entire time, it turned into a real nail-biter. However, enough defense was played to prevent the number one seed from getting the double traversal, bringing the 2nd seed to victory. Congrats to 386, 86, and 2556 on the regional win. And 1902 Exploding Bacon on their EI win, which generated the wild card to send 2556 to Worlds, as well as 2992 SS Prometheus with the silver medal and Chairman's Award double Kling Bling.
Okay, so we've got thanks Brian, I appreciate that. Let's go into discussion here. What I guess first, what topic do you guys have for this week for the Northeast? And do you have any, or excuse me, the Southeast, and then do you have any discussion topic for this week?
Yeah, so the discussion topic we have for this week is talking about interaction during in-game, which people are seeing. Defense of shoving robots into your own traversal zone and then touching them to force the penalty of an automatic traversal. So I personally haven't seen it done purposefully a lot in Chesapeake, and it was actually like it's been accidental stuff with like the every bot design of climb accidentally activating and getting them stuck inside the traversal area. But looking at like other regions, I've seen definitely it's like just I feel it's a little bit scummy way to do it if you force them into that position. And in fact, like I've seen the exact opposite to where like in Chesapeake it was the exact like someone helped someone out of that position before they incurred the penalty. So I would always just feel like everybody in my district generally has the idea it's like, hey, we don't want to cause that. If we can prevent that, we don't want that to happen. But I understand the idea of like force it. Yes. Is it scummy? Yes. Is it valid? Yes.
James, what do you think about that?
So I actually had a very interesting experience with this. My team, when we competed at Orlando, we actually had somebody wind up playing defense on us and pushing us up from under our bumper, which caused our hooks to grab onto their low bar. Oh. And there was no penalty called, no anything called. So it basically became a bum rush where all 6 robots were all in that hangar, half of them trying to keep us there and the other half trying to get us off so we could do our climb. So I was very surprised, and Brian could probably speak more about this in Tallahassee, when to me it looked like somebody was playing perfectly legal defense, pushed somebody into that area and their hooks engaged, and it resulted in a yellow card and no free climbs. I'm not sure that's how that rule is supposed to work.
So the team in question, yes, that did happen at Tallahassee. It was what seemed to be perfectly legal defense, but at the angle at which 86 was pushed into the lower bar, it seemed intentional because they were being pushed sideways. Their hooks were not engaged. Nothing was ready for them to climb. They were pushed sideways into there, and they were stuck there. And from what it seemed from the climbs inside of that match, there was purposeful contact against 86 resistance to then climb up and like get the traversal points, which that led to probably around like a 5 to 10 minute deliberation between the refs at Tallahassee to figure out what needs to be done, which ultimately wound up being the yellow card being given. We also had another instance of this where just a robot that was just a drivetrain somehow had gotten corralled and stuck inside of the opposing alliance hangar, and they were just not able to get out. And they wound up giving 3 free traversals to the entire alliance. So it's seeming like this is something that is happening.
I think it's definitely something to watch out for sure. I know in clips of the week, in the Discord, there was a post of someone. It was a Blue Alliance pushing out another Blue Alliance robot, but they were stuck in the Red Alliance hangar zone, and the team member came over and shoved him out. And that was cool to see. We'll see if it makes the actual clips of the week. But thanks guys, appreciate it. Great discussion, and we'll be sure to watch out for that moving forward. Next up is the first in Michigan district. We had 3 events this week happen in the Mitten State, including FiM District Escanaba event, the FiM District Livonia event, where I was at, and FiM District Muskegon. Our featured event this week comes from Escanaba, and Nick Jr. is bringing us the action from there, as well as the FiM District Livonia event. Nick, how did these events go this weekend?
Thanks, Steve. Heading over the Mighty Mac, which is actually the 5th largest suspended bridge in the world to Yooper country. We travel over to Escanaba High School for the Escanaba District for our featured event this week in the 1st in Michigan District. This one started off with a bang and looked to really be a great one. One of our FiM correspondents, Dan, was at the event and was able to provide some great insight for this event. 76 qualification matches were played at this event and was home to 38 teams. At the end of the day Friday, there were more hang RPs due to contact in the climbing zone than actually climbing. 857 Superior RoboWorks ended the day in 1st and never really looked back after that. The most common foul at this event was being over height due to the everybutt hooks deploying early outside of the climbing zone. Yet again, as previous weeks in Michigan, there were more broken cargo sensors at this event, and had issues with these on Friday and going into Saturday. Moving into Saturday, a 57 Spear RoboWorks out of Houghton would be ranked number 1, and they would select 6637 Beta Wolves from Kearney, Michigan. Dan mentioned that 857 ranked number 1 because they were one of the top tier teams that at this event that was able to sustain momentum throughout the event and kind of avoid mechanical issues as many as the others had otherwise. 6637, who has never made a finalist appearance at an event before, was the obvious first pick with a solid robot and one of the best autonomous routines here at the event. This alliance of 857, 6637, and 5547, a lot of sevens there, was the favorite alliance until the number 7 seed came in and was formed. Alliance 7 was captained by 1596 and 2586, who broke their climber earlier in day 1. And got 2586. And their climber was broke early day 1 and was the best high goal shooter at the event. And they ended up fixing their climb just before alliance selections. They also picked up 7244, which should have been the first pick of Alliance 4 or 5 per our correspondent Dan. Very little teams in the UP Scout, and this team slept through the first couple of rounds. The number 7 seed really made up some noise by beating the number 2 Alliance easily, really, in the quarters with an average win margin of 28 points. The 7 seed would then meet the 3 seed captained by Team 3602, the Robomos out of Escanaba, who selected 6112 and 5714. In the semifinals, and then the 7 seed would win match 1, and it was pushed to a rubber in match 2. In the 3 seed won this one, and the 3 seed would go to win match 3 as the first pick of the 7 seed fell while climbing, and ultimately gave the 3 seed the trip to the finals. The 1 seed did not have any issues in the quarters with an average win margin of just over 30, but they would drop a match in the semis to Alliance 4, captained by Happy Rock, and then they selected Bravebots and 65-69 Gladiators. But the 1 seed would ultimately prevail. Going to the finals, the 3 seed would take match 1, and the 1 seed would take match 2 and 3 to be crowned the winners of the Escanaba District. Chairman's was taken home by 52-16 Evil Empire from Essexville, and the Rookie All-Star Award was taken home by Team 85-17 Evil Bounty Hunters. And something interesting to note here, I'm actually hearing that this is a middle school team competing in FRC, and apparently there is more like this in the UP. So 85-17 was not the only middle school FRC team at Escanaba, so something that I wasn't really aware of before. So interesting with that note, and thanks Dan for that information. Moving back down to the Trolls Under the Bridge, otherwise known as the Mitten, we traveled down to I-75. We traveled down I-75 to Livonia Churchill High School, which was home to the 1st in Michigan Livonia District. Coming into this event, Team 2337, the Engineers from Glen Brink, would, with their robot Relentless, look to be the favorite coming in, but would be Team 2832, the Livonia Warriors, the home team, who featured a great auto and a stellar robot who took the number 1 seed after qualifications. They would go on to select Team 2337, and the rest was really history here. The number 1 seed had no issues getting into the finals, and the number 2 seed was captained by 3414, the Hackbots, who we saw at Detroit, and they would select 5660, Symmetrical Chaos, to tag along with them. In the quarters, though, the number 5 alliance, captained by Team 5708, Robotics, would take down the 4 seed in 2 matches, captained by Team 2048, the Pink Panthers from Detroit. The finals would be a good one, where the average win margin was only 9.5 points in this finals. But the number 1 seed indeed would prevail, giving 2832 their first district win since 2019, which really isn't that long of a time, I guess, because we did lose 2020. But Chairman's was taken home by Team 2832, Livonia Warriors, for that double gold Kling Bling. And there was a rookie team in attendance, but they were not awarded the Rookie All-Star Award, and instead were awarded the highest rookie seed and rookie inspiration. Steve, I know you're at Livonia, so if you have anything quick to add, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good event. It was fun to call. I did the game announcing on it with Chuck Newbecker, and it was fun. And, I think the Engineers are going to be a really, really tough team down the stretch when they get a little bit more experience for their driver. And then also they get their climber mechanism dialed in. It's one of those climbers that'll go from rung 2 to the traversal rung, and they just couldn't quite get it to connect. So I'm interested to say they still finished ranked 2nd at that event. Overall, really good event. A lot of good teams there. I think there was a middle school team there too as well. There's an all freshman team I know that was there, the Tyros team, who did really, really well. They had a really cool robot, a great climb, and some really interesting robots there. There was one robot that did not have a shooter or an intake, and they would pretty much just play a little bit of defense and then go climb with, I mean, sometimes as much as 90 seconds left in the match, they're heading back to climb. So, but they made that traversal climb every single time, and they ended up ranking very high. So thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. Next, let's bring in Mike, who's breaking down the FiM District Muskegon event. Mike, what happened over on the west side this weekend?
Yeah, on the west side, we saw a lot of teams repeating other west side events. We saw 9 teams from the Calvin district. We saw 2 from Gull Lake and 2 from St. Joe. 26 teams making their first appearance. And in a repeat of what happened at Calvin, Team 3357 Comets out of Grand Rapids seeded first. They ran undefeated in qualifying and selected their week 1 partners, 2075 Enigma, also from Grand Rapids. And they finished up their alliance with 6128 Motor from Hart, Michigan. The alliance repeated their week 1 strategy. 3357 was working the close zone, and 2075 was dealing with the defense of the opposing alliance, while 6128 played defense. The bracket had 0 upsets. Red Alliance won every matchup. They faced the second alliance in the finals. Second alliance was led by the number 3 ranked team, 3546 Buccaneers from Grand Haven, and they selected 3572 Wavelength from Norton Shores and 2405 Techno Trojans from Fruitport. Buccaneers were a quick low scorer with a traversal climb, and their alliance really relied on that double traversal climb to secure them their spot in the finals. The first match in the finals, the number 1 alliance demonstrated their high goal prowess with 31 cargo scored high, and the blue alliance just couldn't keep up with that. And in the first match went to red 101 to 54. The second finals match, Wavelength stopped moving with 75 seconds left in the match, and then it was all over from there. They weren't able to climb, and they were the main high goal scorer for that alliance. So, but it probably wouldn't have made a difference. The Red Alliance was really just cooking up balls. They final score was 95 to 55. Congrats to 3357, 2075, and 6128 for their win, and 3546, 3572, and 2405 for finalists. This all but secures 3357's number 1 ranking in district points going to MSC with a near perfect score. The only way they could get more is with EI or chairman's wins. The only teams right now that have EI, chairman's, and a win from the 1 spot are 2832 Livonia Warriors and 3538 Robo Jackets. So look for those 2 teams to hope to upset them for the number 1 spot. Chairman's went to 3618, the Petoskey Paladins, and that's their 7th Chairman's Award. EI went to 4855, Ramageddon from South Haven.
Thanks, Mike. Stick around. Let's bring in Nick Jr. back in. The discussion this week, actually, we have 5 full events this week for the first time this season. We're seeing some teams that we haven't seen yet this season, and quite a few teams, quite a few Michigan powerhouse teams at events this week. I guess, Mike, let's start with you. Who are you seeing for the first time this week?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be back to 5 events in FiM. 19 and 20 calendars had 5 events, 5 of the 6 weekends. So it's really exciting to see Michigan getting back to that, and the teams really coming back. So 110 teams have not played in Michigan. We'll see 81 of those 110 next week. So at Saline, we're going to see the defending world champions, 217, the Thunder Chickens, as well as defending state champions, 3604, the Goon Squad, plus 2611 Jacktown Vectors and 5530, the Lawnmowers. And they'll have to go up against previous event winners 3538 and 1502, as well as finalists 1023 and 503. And then at Belleville, we're going to see 5050 Cowtown, 469 Lost Gorillas, 1189 Gearheads, and 1025 Impy, all doing their debuts. And they have some steep competition up against the Killer Bees 33 and Gems 4362, who both have event wins. And then 1684, the Chimeras, and 2834 Bionic Blackhawks, who both have finalist appearances. Nick, who did I miss?
Yeah, so I guess you definitely hit the east side of the state. And I think really Saline and Belleville are probably going to be two of the most stacked districts that we're probably going to see throughout the year here in FIM. But we do have West Michigan coming up in week 4. We're going to get another look at 85 Bob. 107, I believe, is competing for their first time, if I'm correct. And then NC Gears, who had a finalist appearance. 2054, who was at St. Joe and had a finalist appearance. So Trisonics, who won with 2767 at St. Joe. So I mean, really all across the board, we're going to see some great events here in Michigan this week. And if there's somebody that we're missing, or somebody that is making their debut in FIM this weekend, be sure to drop it in the Twitch chat. We'd be more than happy to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks
do you have
guys.
anything
As
to add?
always, great discussion. Sorry.
I was asking if you had anyone to add to that.
Yeah, no, I don't really. I mean, obviously, I'm looking forward to Belleville. I was going to ask you guys what events you were looking forward to, but you kind of nailed that with the group of teams that you hadn't watched yet too. I'm looking forward to Belleville. I think there's a lot of great teams there. My team's there, so I'm excited to watch them try to recover from Kettering and get a win this week. And there's a lot of great events this week to watch. So I'll have the Blue Alliance up with multiple events, watching them all. So. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And as always, great discussion, and we'll see you next week. Before we move on to the North region, let's talk about one of our sponsors, Kettering University.
When I was considering where to go to college, one of the biggest things for me was figuring out how I was going to be able to pay for college. And it wasn't really until I came to Kettering to one of the Dog Days of Summer events that I figured out how I was going to be able to do that. And it was actually because of this senior chemical engineering student. She was getting ready to graduate, and she had told me about all of her phenomenal experiences, both on co-op and here on campus. But more importantly, she told me that she was going to graduate debt-free. And that was an eye-opener for me. That was the first time I'd ever heard that from a college student, and so that's when I knew that I was sold. So really from there, as soon as I came to Kettering, I knew that that was going to be my goal. I wanted to graduate debt-free. And I did that through a variety of ways. First, of course, the co-op experience was a tremendous help. But I even looked at ways to work here on campus. So I was a federal work study student. I worked in a variety of organizations, and that not only gave me the extra funds, but also different opportunities to meet people and understand our resources here at Kettering. Also looking at scholarships not only here at Kettering University, but even from my hometown and other sources, all of this cumulatively helped me to graduate debt-free.
Thank you to Kettering University. My son goes to Kettering, so shout out to Brendan. Next up, we have U.S. North Region, where we have 3 events taking place from across the North Region. Samantha's up first with our featured event in the Central Illinois Regional and the FIM District Columbus event. Samantha, how did it go this weekend?
Hi, well, the Central Illinois Regional took place in Peoria, Illinois. This regional had 38 veteran teams and 70 qualification matches. So the playoffs overall were intense, and there were even 3 tied match scores. So in quarterfinals, Alliance 1 went up against Alliance 8 and crushed it in both matches, even though there was heavy defense from Alliance 8. The second match had a good amount of defense and a number of penalties, actually. Then it was Alliance 1 versus 4 for semifinals. Both alliances had some pretty high scores. They were evenly matched in auto and endgame, but the cargo made all the difference for Alliance 1. And Alliance 4 just could not reach Alliance 1's scores of 112 and 113. And then in finals, it was Alliance 1 versus 2. The first finals match was won by Alliance 1 due to their high cargo points. And the second match was very close. Alliance 1 seemed to have some difficulties climbing, while Alliance 2 got 31 hanger points, but still was not enough to match Alliance 1's amazing cargo capabilities, and Alliance 1 came out victorious. So congratulations to the winning Alliance captain, 111 Wildstang, and their picks, 1756 Argos and 8122 Robotic Eagles. And also congratulations to the chairman winners, 2338 Garrett Forward, and the engineering inspiration winner, 1625 Winnovation. And now for the next event, we have the First Indiana District Columbus event, sponsored by Toyota. This event took place in Columbus, Indiana, with 30 teams in attendance and 60 qualification matches. So our Alliance 1 captain, 74-57, Sir Pruduper Robotics, who went undefeated in qualifications. And they picked 39-40 Cybertooth, who, if you don't count a tie as defeat, they were also undefeated. And the second pick was 17-41 Red Alert. So Alliance went on to be undefeated in playoffs as well, thanks to their all-around strong match play. So congratulations to the winning Alliance. And congratulations to Chairman's winner, 1741 Red Alert, Engineering Inspiration winner, 234 Cyber Blue, and the Rookie All-Star, 8564 Disco Ducks.
Thanks, Samantha. I love that goat. Next up, we have Chris, who's covering the Greater Pittsburgh Regional. And I heard there was a couple of FIM teams down there competing. Chris, how was Pittsburgh this weekend?
Pittsburgh was a great. Hold on. The Greater Pittsburgh Regional. There we go. That's way better. Okay. So there were 47 teams fighting it out in Pennsylvania this week. Throughout quals, 35-39 would go on undefeated, while 27 Team Rush would have one match loss, so they would end up seeding second. They would accept 35-39's offer to join them in alliance, and they'd make their way to the finals with 69-5 Bison Robotics rounding out their alliance. This event would see no upsets getting into finals, so it would be second seed made up of Captain 1787 Flying Circuits, second pick 2614, and rounding it off with 1708 Amped Robotics. They would go into battle the number one seed. In the finals, in the first match of finals, we'd see Seed 1 Red Alliance put in a sea of shots in Auto and continue to out-cargo them into Telly-Up, along with two traversal climbs to the one only on Blue, securing that first win. Finals 2 would be a similar battle, but a bit closer coming out of Autonomous. Though Alliance 1 just couldn't be stopped with their cargo scoring during Telly-Up. And again, two consistent traversal climbs, securing that win for Red. So congrats to 35, 39, 27, and 65, 69, 695 on the win. Also, congrats to 1511 Rolling Thunder on their chairman's win.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Next up, we have the international region, where we had two events taking place in Turkey, the Istanbul Regional and Bosphorus Regional. I hope I said that right. Actually, Chris is back to tell us about the Istanbul Regional first. Chris?
Yes, the Istanbul Regional! All the way in Turkey, 48 teams battling it out. After the chaos of qualifications, the top-seeded team would be 62-32 Flora Bisons. Their first pick would be 75-36 Anka Robotics, and rounding off their team would be 60-25 Androids. We would see the Seed 6 upset Seed 3 in quarters, but they would lose out to Seed 2 in the semifinals. So again, we see 1 versus 2. Seed 2 comprised of captains 85-61 Cartesian Robotics, first picks 60-64 Istanbuls, and rounding off with 85-99 Sharpline. These finals would go all the way to a third match. Seed 1 would be taking that first match and losing the second. Some close battles. The teams would end up, so these teams would go into that third round, going into Telly-Up tied in points. But Seed 1 would have a hard time getting shots in. This would give Seed 2 making up ground, getting in towards that end climb, with putting in a cargo. With two traversals on Seed 1, that would not end up giving them enough, because Seed 2 would put everybody on the mid-rung. This would give them the very small lead they needed and give them the win. So congrats to 85-61, 60-64, 85-99, and also congrats to 74-66 Simers on their chairman's win.
Thanks, Chris. Next up, we have Tassif bringing us the action from the Bosphorus Regional. Tassif, how things shake out at this event in Turkey?
So the Bosphorus Regional took place right after the Istanbul Regional, the Volkswagen Arena in Istanbul, Turkey, this past weekend. The team had 43 teams, 11 were rookie teams, so basically 1/4 of the event were rookies, and 4 of the teams were from outside of Turkey. They were Brazil, Switzerland, Libya, and Kazakhstan. Qualifications ended with Team 7285 Sneaky Snakes taking the #1 spot, and they picked Team 6838 X Shark and Team 8058 IEL Robotics. Playoffs would go with the Red Alliance winning every playoff match. Finals match 1 would end with the score of 94-44, and finals match 2 would end with the score of 83-50. Congratulations to Team 7285, 6838, and Team 8058 for winning the 2022 Bosphorus Regional. Congratulations to Team 6436, Pars Robotics, Team 8084, Alpha Robotics, and Team 8158, Bosphorus Robotics, for becoming the finalists of the event. And congratulations to Team 8153, Tech for Peace, for winning their first Chairman's Award, especially for being a third-year team. And congratulations to Team 6988, ACI 35, for winning the Regional Engineering Inspiration Award.
Hey, thanks, guys. And yeah, congrats to the Sneaky Snakes. So up next, we have the South Region, where we had 3 events. Our featured event was the Fit District Austin event. We also had the Heartland Regional in Kansas and the Fit District Fort Worth event. Tassif is back to bring us the details of the Fit District Austin event and the Heartland Regional. Tassif, tell us about these events and what took place this weekend.
So let's go back to the South. So we'll start off with the First in Texas Austin District event, which was played this past Friday and Saturday. Things were quite busy in Austin this past week as the annual South by Southwest Festival was going on, where the first Disney Plus documentary, More Than Robots, was premiered. Teams then flocked to the Texas Capitol to play in a very well-rounded tournament at Vandergrift High School. The name of the game during this tournament was locking in the #2 seed. Pretty early on in the tournament, 8600 Valor showed that they would be the top contender for the finals matches on Saturday afternoon, and stayed in the #1 seed the majority of the weekend. But the #2 seed was quite the challenge, and we saw a plethora of teams fighting for the spot. Team 2881, the Lady Cans, 6377, Howdy Bots, and 2158, Austin Cans, all had extremely similar statistics and had great upper goal scoring potential. Then on, of course, was the Westlake Robotics trio, Team Appreciate, Team Apprentice, and Team Alpha. All 3 of these teams seated in the top 8 and at the end of qualifications, and were trying to demonstrate that they could play at a high level despite a variety of issues that popped up for all 3 robots during the tournament. At the end of the day, 6800 Valor picked for their first robot team 2468 Appreciate for their hot streak on Saturday morning. Team 7521 Ultimate Robotics took the second place seed and chose 6377 Howdy Bots as their partner. Elimination matches on Saturday afternoon proved that Austin District truly had a well-rounded event. Of the 4 quarterfinals matches, 3 of the 4 matches went to a third match. The only matchup that went 2-1 was the Alliance 1 versus Alliance 8 matchup. Miraculously, all higher seed alliances made it to the semis, and the third place alliance of 2881 Lady Cans, 2687 Apprentice, and 8610 Laner Volks, making it on a tiebreaker 61-61 in a rubber match. The third seeded alliance carried the momentum into the semis as they took out the #2 seed in an upset, leading 2881, 2687, and 8610 to the finals. On the other side of the bracket, the high-powered alliance of 6800, 2468, and 8144 Redshare Robotics made it unscathed to the finals. This is where things got a little crazy. In match 1 of the finals, the Alliance 1 beat the Alliance 3 handedly 90-54, but both 2468 and 8144 broke down. 8144 unfortunately was not fixable, but could not get the backup bot of Team 5052 Robolodos onto the field quick enough to play in match 2. Therefore, 6800 and 2468 played by themselves in match 2, with 6800 taking care of scoring and 2468 playing defense on Alliance 3. During the 2468 defense, an extremely controversial G205 red card was called for disabling 2881 and automatically disqualifying number 1 Alliance from that match. Whether the card was warranted or not calls for an additional discussion, but regardless, Austin went to a finals 3 to determine the winner. The finals match saw 6800 1v3 in scoring as 50-52 played defense, and 2468 climbed immediately due to a broken drive chain to win the match 92-78. Congratulations to finals 2881, 2687, and 8610, as well as the event winners 6800, 2468, 8144, and 5052. Additional congratulations are in order for Chairman's winner 2881 Lady Cans and Rookie All-Star winners 8572 Rogue Rangers Legacy. Now, outside of the first in Texas, we head to Otho, Kansas for the Heartland Regional. This one was a smaller regional I have seen with only 28 teams competing, leaving the door wide open for anyone to win. The top teams at the Heartland Regional were extremely close in terms of scoring potential, and every team had to work hard for their seed. By the end of 58 qualification matches, it was Team 1706 Ratchet Rockers who seeded first with 40 ranking points. They picked 6th ranked team 1987 Bronco Bots as their first pick for the first alliance. In the number 2 slot was Team 1730 Team Driven, who picked up 5th ranked team 5422 Scream. Some other notable teams who seeded well included 3rd ranked team 5013 the Trobots and the 4th ranked team 3184 Blaze Robotics. Quarterfinals went smoothly, with the higher seed winning all their matches, putting the 1st through 4th alliances into semis. In semifinals, the same thing happened. The higher seeds won, sending the 1st and 2nd seeds alliances to the finals. The final matches saw some incredible tight scores over 3 matches, a delta of only 17 points between all 3 matches. The 1st seed won the 1st match, the 2nd seed won the 2nd match, and finally, the 1st seed won the 3rd match with a score of 98-88. Congratulations to Team 1987, 1706, and 5098 Sting R for their event win, and to 1730 Team Driven, who won chairman's as well as event finalists. Final congratulations are in order to Team 8825, the Hunting Eagles, for Rookie All-Star. Now back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Tassif. Man, that Austin event sounded wild. So next up, we have Jeff, who's bringing us our coverage from the Fit District Fort Worth event. Jeff, what happened out in Fort Worth this weekend?
Yeah, so this past weekend, 31 teams went just up Interstate 30 from Texas's Garden of Eden to Nolan Catholic High School for their chance of winning the 2022 Fort Worth District event. Going into this event, we were missing some of the usual powerhouses of 118, 148, 3310, and so on, which left the floor wide open. All 8 of the top 8 teams secured 20 or more ranking points throughout the qualification rounds, but it would be 3005 Robochargers from Dallas taking the number 1 spot. They would select 4206 Robobikes, event hosts, and autonomous award winners, which seriously, if you haven't seen their auto, you have to watch it. And they would round out their alliance with 3355 Purple Vipers from Arlington. They easily made their way to the finals, facing the number 2 alliance of 2582 Panther Bots, 6672 Fusion Core, and 7535 Purple Poison. The number 2 alliance had a hard-fought battle getting to the finals, however, only winning semis against the number 3 alliance by 4 and 3 points in each match, and unfortunately that left them with some mechanical issues, which gave the number 1 alliance convincing wins of 106 to 67 and 108 to 37. Congratulations to the number 1 alliance for taking home that coveted blue banner, 8625 MHS Eagles for their Rookie All-Star Award, and a huge shout out to the number 3 alliance. All 3 of them took home an award. The second pick, 7534 Dragonflies, took home their first award win since their rookie year. Captain 4192 Flower Mound Jaguar Robotics took home the Engineering Inspiration Award, and their first pick, 1296 Full Metal Jacket, snagged the District Chairman's Award for the second year in a row. It was a crazy event, but that's all I got from Fort Worth.
Thanks, Jeff. Let's bring back Tassif and for our discussion this week. Guys, before we get to the topic, though, is there any specific event or teams that we should be watching for week 4?
Personally, like I know Irving is very much hyped up. It's a very great event. There's a lot of top tier teams going. Um, but I wouldn't ignore Pasadena. I mean, there's still some pretty good teams going. You have 3847, 4587, 5414. So it's still shaping up to be quite an exciting event. But also, the elephant in the room, Irving, I'm going to be watching. And also, Connor mentioned them earlier. I do want to see what 254 has built for this year, so I'll definitely be watching their regional.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with what Jeff said. 254, exciting to see what they show out. I've heard that they might release their reveal video before their event, so excited to see that. I'm gonna be a bit biased and also say Irving. My team is gonna be there. Was there at their school this past week, and they made a lot of improvements. So excited to see that. Also excited to see, of course, 118, 140, and 3310 all playing on the same field since a while. But it'll be fun to watch Irving for sure.
Awesome. So my question this week is how has the district model affected the team quality of Texas as far as like the depth is concerned? And then secondly, do you think that COVID has hindered that progress, helped it, or that it didn't really have effect on the depth of the teams?
Yeah, so I'll start. Like, I definitely think Fort Worth, if you were watching the event, that was one where you could definitely see how depth has shifted since the introduction of districts. Previously, not a lot of these teams were very well known, and not a lot of them typically made it out of quarterfinals at their events. And now you see all of these teams that really, until 2019, early 2020, people outside the region had never heard of. Not a lot of people knew who 3005 were. Almost nobody knew who 4206 were outside of Florida because they go every year. Uh, Not a lot of people knew 6672. I mean, they were a rookie 2017. They seeded number one their rookie year, so they came out swinging, and they were, I believe, winners or finalists their second year as a team at one of their regionals. So it was sort of these teams that people in the district had known were going to be great teams, and then as soon as districts became a thing, they just absolutely they're taking home blue banners every single year. Um, and then COVID. I mean, we had the Texas Cup in 2021, so we got to see a lot of teams practice with their 2020 robots, and sort of train new drivers, get new pit crews adjusted, new scouts. Uh, but really, I think despite lockdowns, whether or not Texas has handled the whole situation the best is a discussion for another day. Um, we're not really seeing that much of a hindrance to most teams. I feel like a lot have really come out. I mean, there's 8055 and 8,000 team built Swerve this year. Like, who does that in their third year?
I will have to say everything you said was I do agree with COVID being a hindrance. There are some discussions where like teams are losing mentors, sponsorships because they weren't able to do certain things because of COVID hitting and canceling their entire season. My first competition I went to was in 2018. Talking back about districts now, was a regional event, and regionals are huge and long. There's so many teams that my first regional was the Dallas Regional, very long. And when we went to districts the next season, it was completely different. And I actually liked it a bit better because I got to know more teams. Like Jeff mentioned, there's some teams you didn't know existed until those district events. There's more district events that teams can go to. You're able to meet new people as well instead of just going through 60, 80 teams at a regional when there's only like maximum 45, I would say. So yeah, there's more communications able to be done at regionals, more, I guess, easy scouting, since there's less matches. It's all about, I guess, the capacity you can deal with less people at a competition, but more events. There's still more scouting to do outside, but overall, you're able to get a lot more done, get to know more teams. I know from what I can remember, 5431, my high school team wasn't well known until 2019 Plano District when we won. So there's a lot of things you get to know more teams and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I when I first got involved in first, Michigan only had a district model, so I've only known the district model. You guys, it sounds like have experienced both. I guess if you had to choose one or the other, which would you pick?
Districts all the way.
Districts, especially if you win a regional, you go straight to worlds. But a district, you have to earn your right. You have to do two district events, go to states, and then go to worlds instead of just regional then worlds.
And
So
you get to
I
play
like
more
district.
event. You get to play more matches. You get to meet more teams.
More
Yeah, I think
practice, driver practice. Yeah.
I'd love to see more areas become districts as well. So it was good to see Texas do that. So awesome. Well, thanks guys. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week. So let's bring back our producer Tyler to start our giveaway for the event or for the evening and talk about our show sponsor Stryker.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Steve. So, we're going to be doing a giveaway from our friends at Rev Robotics. They're giving away a $25 gift card to their site. So this is going to be an e-gift card, so we just need your email if you do win. So if you're interested in winning, all you got to do is make sure you click that follow button for the channel. You do have to be following to be eligible to win. And the keyword is going to be one word, Rev does more. Rev does more. That's the keyword. Just put it in chat. At least I think I did. There we go. For a chance to win $25 gift card, we do give some extra luck to our subscribers, and we'll be drawing right after our West discussion coming up. So before we head into our West discussion, we're going to hear from our friends at Stryker, hear a little bit more about their company and their culture.
I love working for Stryker.
I'm genuinely excited to come to work every day.
The minute you walk through that door, you know you are part of something special.
We support each other and look out for each other.
I love Stryker because we are like a family.
At Stryker, I own my career.
There are so many different places Stryker can take me in the next 5 years.
Noi crediamo che quello che facciamo è molto importante.
Together,
with our
Customers.
We are driven
to make
healthcare better.
Great people with a strong mission and values can accomplish great things together.
Thanks, Tyler. Finally, this week we have our West region where we had 5 events, including the Arizona Valley Regional, the San Diego Regional, San Francisco Regional, PNW District, I hope I'm saying this right, Sammamish event, and the PNW District SunDome event. We'll start with our featured event. Let's bring in Grace to talk about the Arizona Valley Regional. Grace, welcome back. How did things go this weekend down in Arizona?
Well, this week at Chaparral High School in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, was the inaugural Arizona Valley Regional. You might have missed this event as there weren't very many household name teams present here, yet there's some amazing stories I want to make sure we highlight. First, that of Team 4817. 4817, 1 degree north of Singapore, was unfortunately unable to send its students to the event due to government policy. However, the robot itself was able to leave the country and compete. Its operators were students instead from Team 2486 The Coconuts, who are not competing at this event, but originally planned to be volunteering. After many Zoom calls with the Singapore team and a practice day of troubleshooting and learning to drive, the team ultimately ranked 14th. It speaks to the ethos of FIRST to see 2 teams from different countries collaborate on running a competitive robot. The next story is that of 8848, the Blue Crew, who in their very first event ever became 3rd Alliance captains, made it to semifinals, and took things to 3 matches versus the number 2 Alliance, which was the only rubber match in the entire event. Unfortunately, this number 3 Alliance came up short when the Blue Crew had a gearbox catastrophic failure and couldn't be replaced in time for their next match. They didn't walk away empty-handed, however, instead winning the Rookie All-Star Award and getting onto the priority waitlist. And the final story before we get to the robot game is that of the field itself. If you watched Arizona North last week, you may have noticed that there were several replays needed and even some schedule adjustments to ensure the event finished before sundown on Saturday. The exact field drove south to the Arizona Valley event and only had one issue that resulted in a match replay the entire weekend. This smooth sailing is largely due to the efforts of the FTA and FTAAs devoting the time during both events to make sure that any future regionals run on this field would not suffer the same issues. I want to shout out these individuals this year and all the FTAs this season, as these volunteers can go unnoticed, and this year has one heck of a field to operate. Moving over to the robot game, 35 teams fought through 12 rounds of qualification matches. Coming out ranked number 1 was Team 4415 Epic Robots. Through an intense alliance selection, they picked up 2478 Westwood Robotics and 7703 the Robo Bears. In quarterfinals, number 1 handily beat out number 8 and then rolled on to the semis. Semis were more of a close match, however, with number 1 just scratching by 82-70 and 83-73. Finals were more of a challenge, however, facing the number 2 alliance of 498, the Cobra Commanders, 3853 Pridetronics, and 3245 the Ravens. Finals 1 made it seem that number 1 would have no trouble claiming the event as they won the match 91-64. Finals 2 was decided by just a single climb, with number 1 winning 67-57. It is the first blue banner ever for Captain 4415 and for second pick 7703. Also coming home with hardware from the event were 2073 Eagle Force for their Engineering Inspiration Award win, and Team 6413 Degrees of Freedom winning the blue banner for chairmans. In this week's Best of the West food review, we want to highlight the amazing meals the volunteers at the event were privileged to enjoy. Catering the event was Ni de Aquí, Ni de Allá, a Phoenix area food truck specializing in Mexican cuisine. This food truck and catering company is run by none other than Lorenzo, formerly of 842, and who you might also recognize if you saw the movie Underwater Dreams. Everything they served was excellent, but my personal favorites were their asada street tacos and chorizo breakfast burritos. I highly recommend checking them out if you're ever in the area. This event certainly flew under the radar this week, but overall it was a joy to watch and be a part of. Back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Grace. Now you made me hungry. Next up, we have Aiden, who's covering our 2 California events, the San Diego Regional and the San Francisco Regional. Aiden, tell us what happened out in the Golden State.
Thanks, Steve. With the absence of the Del Mar Regional this year, San Diego has become the perennial proving grounds for California's southernmost teams this year, reopening the Del Mar Fairgrounds 2 years later for 53 teams to get their post-pandemic plays in. Rocketing to the top of the leaderboards were a few familiar faces we had seen back in week 1 at Port Hueneme, including 65-60 Charging Champions, who captained the 4th Alliance to the semifinals there, 31-28 Aluminum Narwhals, who were formerly the first pick of the 5th, and 2102 Paradox as the first pick of the 6th. 65-60 charged directly into first place, tying up the ranking score average 2.44 with Team 3255 the Super Nerds, but winning the average match score 50.88 to 49.66, squeaking into the tiebreaker by a low hub cargo and some change. 65-60 picked up the Narwhals and 8006 the Phantoms, who we had briefly seen at Tidal Tumble back in October. 3255 retained their second captain position and selected up-and-comers 3647 Millennium Falcons, as well as 8119 Tiger Botics. The first seed breezed through quarters, while the second was met with challenges from the get-go, losing their first match by a margin of 3 points and bringing the series back in the second, though an unknown issue forced the second alliance to use their substitution and grab 4984 Bullseye from the backup pool. This substitute proved handy in getting the second seed back in action, taking the remaining quals and semis matches by storm. The first seed ran into a similar issue after a very close semis too, where 8006 was plagued by issues disabling the left side of their drivetrain. This warranted substituting in 2839 Daedalus for the finals, where the number 1 and number 2 alliances prepared to duel seconds in tow. The second alliance may have underestimated the power of a substitute bot with nothing to lose and everything to gain, as 2839 left no robot unharassed in the final set, taking some intense 1-on-3 defensive fights. In the end, Finals 1 went the way of Red, 99-81, and a new high score was set in Finals 2 with Red's blowout lead 107-57. Well fought to the winners, finalists, and substitute bots alike. Just as intense as the playoffs bracket was the awards matchup, where 1622 Team Spider would walk away with their 6th Chairman's Award win, as well as a Woody Flowers Finalist Award banner for mentor Sarah Rodriguez. 3749 Team Optics would bring home Engineering Inspiration for the first time, their first award at an in-person competition since the team's inception. And Mechanic Ants, who you may remember from their rookie all-star win at Port Hueneme, proved themselves worthy of the award yet again, actually, leading the 6th alliance to the semifinals. So congrats to all the teams on your hardware and punched tickets to Houston. Moving on up the bay to San Francisco. San Francisco Regional has always been a favorite of mine, between being in my hometown, having some of the best volunteer food in California, Grace, I'm looking at you, and consistently running well on schedule. 41 teams packed into the Golden Gate to prove themselves as the best in the Bay. Longtime champions of San Francisco, 971 Spartan Robotics, were a favorite going into the event, having won every SFR before, but it would be two familiar faces to California overshadowing them: 604 Quicksilver and 846 the Funky Monkeys, both of whom came equipped with traversal climbs and swerve drives. Though both of these teams went 10-2 in quals, it would be 604 claiming number one, sitting at a 3.08 ranking score from all those traversal climbs. Quicksilver picked their Monkey Bar buds 846 to join the alliance anyways, as well as San Francisco's freshest faced 8852 Drew Robotics. 971 moved into the second captain's spot, opting for 3970 Duncan Dynamics and 841 the Biomex. Quite a few happenings in the Elam's bracket starting from the quarterfinals. Besides the 5 versus 4 upset, the third alliance of 2551 Penguin Empire, 670 Homestead Robotics, and 8159 Golden Horn from Turkey was assigned a red card in their second match, pushing the series that they inevitably won a little further. In the semifinals, they squeaked out a 5-point lead over Spartan Robotics' crew, but the hiccups in robots and strategy, as well as avoiding any further potential for cards, did not let this lead last for the rest of the set, and the number 2 alliance moved on into the finals. The 1 versus 5 semis were also a sight to behold, as semifinals 2 issued a yellow and later an upgraded red card to the number 1 alliance for, firstly, multiple cargo possession, as well as an intake contacting inside a blue alliance robot, secondly, which would cause a yellow card to become a red. Again, this card could not deter the number 1 from proceeding forward, and in the end, we saw the rapid react standard of a top 2 alliance matchup in the finals. Though the first alliance looked to be stronger, Spartan Robotics were still a favorite to win the whole thing, but were met with a setback of a missing partner in Finals 1. Duncan Dynamics was not present as the timeout buzzer signaled and took a little bit of time to get onto the field, but were denied entry by the head referee. This match was still close, with 57-54 scorelines in favor of red. In the next bout, both alliances could play to their full strength, but the number 1 alliance still came back on top in a nail-biter match, leading 79-76. Congrats to the winners and an excellent showing by the finalists in spite of the challenges that they faced towards the end of their run. I'd also like to extend congrats to Rookie All-Star winners 8840 Bay Robotics, Engineering Inspiration winners 8159 Golden Horn, and first-time Chairman's winners 649 MSET Fish. If you're curious to hear more about what exactly went down in SF this weekend, make sure you stick around for FRC Roundup just after the show, because I know I will be. Back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Aiden. Up next, we have Alex, who's covering the 2 events in the PNW district, the Sammamish event and the SunDome event. Alex, how things go up in the Pacific Northwest this weekend?
This week at the PNW District Sammamish event, 31 teams gathered in Bellevue, Washington to compete, and coming out of the qualification matches, 4911 the Cyber Knights were the team to beat. They went 10-2 in their quali matches and were able to consistently make the cargo RP, putting them at the top of the rankings. Not so far behind were 5827, who had tied RP with 588, but they were able to score more on average per match, and so they were ranked higher. And because of that, after the qualification matches, 4911 chose that rank 2, 5827, for their first alliance partners, and 1294 as their second. Throughout eliminations matches, the number 1 seed alliance was dominating, consistently putting up scores above 100. But after a nasty fall in the first finals match, 4911 seemed to be suffering some sort of mechanical issues that had them need to use a timeout, and then in finals 2, 4911 had some connection problems and did not seem to be connected for a little bit during the match, and the rest of their alliance wasn't able to keep up the scoring of the Blue Alliance. This allowed the Blue Alliance to bring the event to a third game. In the tiebreaker match, 4911 seemed to have their issues resolved and were able to win the tiebreaker, winning the event and taking home a blue banner. Congrats to the Chargers, 3786 for their event chairman's win, Saints Robotics team, 1899 for their Engineering Inspiration Award win. And I just wanted to warn everyone, some teams, for teams competing in the future, First Washington sent out an email to teams warning them about some excess carpet wear from the use of the blue nitrile treads. I'm sure that some of you guys have already seen this, but Because the Falcon motors, the blue nitrile on the swerve drives, especially in some of the Washington areas events that I saw, the carpet looked to be in pretty rough shape. So I wouldn't be surprised if going forward our 201 is more strictly applied to keep the fields working as intended. So everyone just be careful, do what you can to make the event run smoothly. Be nice to the event organizers. This weekend in Yakima, Washington, at the SunDome event for the PNW district, 29 Ted showed once again to be one of the best teams of the year with an amazingly fast and elegant swerve drive and a fast and consistent shooter. From the start of the event, Jack and the Bot was pretty consistently amazing. They were undefeated in their qualification matches, scoring high in every single match that they played. The second seed of this event, 2930 Sonic Squirrels, had lost to 2910 in the finals in week 1 at Glacier Peak. This time around, they partnered together, making an unstoppable alliance that set the event high score at 142, only 4 away from the all-time highest score so far, set by 1690 of 146. In the finals, Jack and the Bot, 2930 and 8532 played against the number 2 alliance, 7461 Sushi Squad, 2147 Chuck, and 4104 Air. And while the Blue Alliance had a valiant showing, they were just unable to keep up with the cargo monsters that were the Red Alliance. 2910 definitely, at least in my opinion, has an opportunity to win Houston this year and potentially be one of the best robots, if not the best robot that I've seen so far. Congrats to the teams that played this weekend. Congrats to 4125 for the Chairman's win, 4061 for the Engineering Inspiration Award, and 8532 for the Rookie Triple Crown of event winners, Rookie All-Star, and highest rookie seed. Now, back to you.
Thanks, Alex. Now let's bring back Aiden and Grace for our discussion topic. But before we get to that, though, do you guys have any teams or events that you're going to be watching this week?
I think I'll be watching the Colorado Regional. Over the last probably 5 to 7 years, the level of play in Colorado has just skyrocketed. And so it's been really fun. I got to go to the first event 1619 ever won, was an event my old team was at. So I'm looking forward to seeing, all my Colorado friends there and how things go down. And what's probably going to be a pretty competitive event.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Monterey Bay this weekend. I'm actually competing with Team 1967, the Janksters out of San Jose. So we'll be going to Monterey Bay as our first regional. And when I'm not watching Monterey Bay, I'm probably going to be watching Davis. Got to see that poof spot. Want to know what they're bringing to the table because they weren't at San Francisco, unfortunately. And I'm going to watch my former team, 299 Valkyrie Robotics, as well, see how they do this year. So lots of other names in the mix. I want to see how 1678 stepped it up, but Monterey and Davis are going to be my two. So,
okay, cool. So, what do you guys have for a discussion topic this week?
So this week,
Grace, let's start with you.
Yeah, this week I wanted to talk a little bit more about the value of a climb. Finals match number 2 at the Arizona Valley Regional was decided by a single climb. And there was actually a couple in the semifinals as well. Climb is worth 7.5 cargo scored in the high goal. So it's definitely a trade-off because if your robot's really good at shooting high, you can sometimes even make it up. So but it's also a huge penalty if a robot's caught playing defense in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm. I think in a way the climbs and how many points you can score from climbs will act as a buffer. One of the things I noticed at San Francisco, right, was 604 skipped 971, and to some teams that might be a shock, right? People are like, oh, how do you not pick Spartan Robotics? But having the availability of doing the high climb and the traversal climb definitely made a lot more options, and the win condition changed for 604, right? They don't have to necessarily match the cargo against an alliance that just cannot climb. If you look at the breakdowns on Blue Alliance for San Francisco finals, I think one of the teams couldn't play in finals 1, but looking at the Spartan Robotics Alliance, the climb potential, I think, couldn't even outmatch a traversal. And so having 604 on the traversal means, okay, we can fall behind like 3-4 cycles as long as we get our traversal climb and 846 puts in work and then gets their high climb, right? You have a buffer to work with. But it's not overpowered, right? It's a margin of error that you can work with. Of we are just not fast enough. We can't catch up enough, but we can hang, and we hang well, we hang fast, and we're going to use that to make up the difference.
Yeah, I saw that in Michigan too at the Livonia event. There was some teams that, and like I said in the Michigan portion of the recap, there was one team that's pretty much all they could do was defend and then go back and climb. But they were extremely consistent. They made it on that traversal rung every single time. And then another team that was pretty good at shooting. Not one of the top probably 3 shooters there, but very good. But they were extremely consistent with their climb too. They even fell one time and still got back up and made it to the traversal rung, all in that last 30 seconds. So, those 15 points at the end, if you can get 2 robots up there, that's a big deal. That's a lot of shooting. And the thing with shooting is you can have a great shooter, but you just get one bad bounce, or if it just bounces out a little bit wrong, or it spins out, or the backspin, you never know how that tennis ball like cargo is going to bounce. So I think the cargo is really, or the climbing is really interesting. And I'm interested to see how it evolves over the course of the season as well. So thanks, guys.
I was sorry.
Go ahead, Grace.
Just one more thing I had to add is just kind of, it's one of those things you want to look for when you get a new game manual, is what are the different actions that are going to get you the most points, and what's the trade-off you're making, because not every team is going to be able to make an accurate high goal shooter. Or where are you going to invest your time? Are you going to do it in a traversal, or are you going to do it in a high goal or in a great drivetrain? And so definitely something to always watch out for, because I think year after year, we do have those different objectives where if you do one really well, you're going to rank high and have a pretty good chance of winning.
Yep. Absolutely. Anything else to add, Aiden, before we call it a night?
No, I'm curious to see how the climb meta evolves. We're seeing some teams that do nothing but climb, and I'm not sure that that's worth it. I've only seen one team really do that to relative success in the past year, and that was 973's off-season bot at Title Tumble. And that was for a different game entirely. So I don't know how teams are feeling going for just the traversal climb and nothing else.
Yeah, I guess I'm interested to see how it plays out the rest of the year. So thanks again, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Now, before we wrap up, let's bring back producer Tyler to draw for our giveaway from Rev Robotics.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Steve. Once again, Rev Does More was the keyword if you're interested in winning a $25 gift card from our friends at Rev. Let's go ahead and draw for that. By the way, if you're watching live, stick around for FRC Roundup, where we have some great discussion topics we put in chat. Winner today is going to be the Drake 87. Congratulations to the Drake 87. You've won a $25 Rev gift card. Please message First Updates Now either on Twitch or Discord with your name and email, and we'll get that out to you. And thanks a lot to Rev Robotics for the great giveaway. Back to you, Steve.
All right, thanks, Tyler. And thank you for tuning in to FRC Recap for week 3 of the Rapid React season. If you're watching live, stay tuned for FRC Roundup for our open table discussion on Rapid React for this week and beyond. Special thanks to all those who clicked that follow button or stepped up to help fund with a Twitch subscription or donation. Your support really helps us to continue to make great content. Also, don't forget you can watch FRC Recap archived at youtube.com/firstupdatesnow. On behalf of producer Tyler Olds and all of our fun correspondents, I'm Steve Londo. Thanks for watching, and good luck to all teams competing in week 4 and beyond. See you next week on FRC Recap.
Thanks to Kettering University for their support of this video. Kettering University hosts 3 co-op employment fairs each year for incoming and current students. Participating in the co-op employment process at Kettering is a great way to begin turning robotics experience into a professional career to earn money towards graduating debt-free. If you are a senior, it's not too late to apply at kettering.edu/apply. Thanks to Stryker Careers for their support in this video. First alumni and mentors are making Stryker a top priority for their internships and careers. That's because Stryker knows that those in FIRST are the leaders and innovators of tomorrow. If you want to help make the world a better place by creating life-saving medical devices and technology, get started at careers.stryker.com. Thanks for watching. If you want to join us for future fun streams, be sure to click the follow button and turn on the notification bell to know when we're live. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. View archives and unique content at youtube.com/firstupdatesnow. Join our Discord at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.